Madam President,
The senator from Ohio.
we are not in a quorum call, correct?
You're not.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Over the course of just 3 days, the world lost 3 talented, tenacious journalists to Vladimir Putin's war crimes and brutal invasion of Ukraine. Brent Renaud was a Peabody Award-winning documentary filmmaker working to tell the story for the world of Putin's war when he was fatally shot in the Kyiv suburb of Irpin on Sunday. Then on Monday, 2 more journalists with Fox News lost their lives when their vehicle came under fire just outside of Kyiv. A cameraman and veteran war reporter, Pierre Zakshevsky, was killed. He had been reporting in Ukraine since February. We also lost Ukrainian journalist Alexandra Sasha Kushanova, who was serving as a consultant for Fox Team in Ukraine. She was just 24 years old. Their colleague, correspondent Benjamin Hall, was also injured. He remains in a hospital. Journalists know they face danger when they report from war zones. They put themselves in harm's way to tell the world the true stories that we need to hear. The presiding officer from Minnesota today joined me and dozens of others and saw the video, the pictures, the photos of war in Ukraine shown to us by President Zelensky. And those pictures, many of them were taken by very courageous journalists that risked their own lives. They bring us the unvarnished truth, unfiltered by government propaganda at times when we need it most. They're committed to basic ideals of truth and accuracy and transparency, so committed they put their lives on the line to make sure the world knows what is happening. Their commitment to these ideals only makes their deaths that much more tragic. Today, 3 families, so many colleagues, grieve for these 3 journalists, grieving losses that can't be replaced. They shouldn't have to. The war was started by a man with no regard for freedom of the press or basic human rights. A man, former KGB agent, with open contempt and hostility towards real reporters, towards real journalism, toward free speech. A man who presides over a regime where journalists are killed with impunity. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, 28 journalists have been killed in Russia since Putin came to power 20 years ago. 10 are currently in prison simply for telling the truth, for doing their jobs. According to Reporters Without Borders, Russia ranks 150 out of 199 countries for press freedom. They're actually behind Afghanistan and South Sudan in the Republic of the Congo. Last October, the U.S. and 18 other countries issued a statement warning, quote, about the Russian government's intensifying harassment of independent journalists and media outlets in Russia. In 2020, the Russian government began labeling many outside journalists, quote, media foreign agents, a term reminiscent of the worst in the Cold War. It's not just foreign journalists. It's Putin's government has applied the media foreign agent label to independent Russia outlets in the country, operating near the country's border, Russian reporters themselves. It goes against all of our values. It's the kind of authoritarianism that the Ukrainian people bravely fight every day now. They don't want their country to turn into a place where reporters fear for their lives, where journalists can't tell the public the truth. Journalists' entire job is to ask questions, to challenge powerful interests, to, shall we say, afflict the comfortable. Reporters put their safety, and as we saw with these 3 brave journalists in Ukraine, their lives on the line, whether it's covering floods and hurricanes in the United States or traveling the globe to bring us the stories of war zones. We depend on reporters in my state and around the world to bring us the story that impact our day-to-day lives and tell the stories that might not otherwise be told. They are too often under attack overseas and increasingly. We recently had a president of the United States who attacked journalists in almost every stop. As we all stand with the people of Ukraine, let's recommit ourselves to fighting just as hard as they are for our values, for freedom of the press, for free speech. These 3 journalists made the ultimate sacrifice to show the world the heroism of the Ukrainian people. We pray that they are the last that has to do that. We recognize that Putin has been shocked by 2 things, shocked by the heroism of the Ukrainian people, those fighting back, those brave journalists, those freedom fighters, those mothers and fathers and children that have so courageously stood up against Russia. He's also shocked by the way President Biden so effectively has put together an international coalition, not just of the countries you'd expect, but Germany and Finland and Sweden and Switzerland, countries that have rarely chosen sides and stepped up the way that all of our countries have. And while doing this, we send our sympathy and our gratitude to the families of Brent Renault, to Pierre Zakashevsky, to Alexandra Kuvizhnova. They died doing the vital, heroic work they love. We have a better understanding of this invasion, of the war crimes being committed, of how it's affecting people's lives. We have a better understanding because of journalists like them, and we thank them from the bottom of our hearts. Madam President, I ask to put the following remarks a different part of the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. I'd like to remember an Ohio public servant who we lost this year, a longtime friend of mine, Jefferson County Sheriff, Eastern Ohio, along the Pennsylvania, West Virginia line, along the Ohio River, Jefferson County Sheriff Fred Abdullah. He took office in January 1985. He served his community ever since for nearly 4 decades in his sheriff's car, going up and down the river, going to Mingo Junction and Tiltonsville, to Steubenville, to Wintersville, all over Jefferson County. He served that community. His colleagues and his neighbors call him tough but big-hearted. He was particularly passionate about solving crimes against children and seniors. His chief deputy, Susan Bell, worked with Sheriff Abdullah for 32 years. She said he and I had a lot of cases together. He laughed a lot. We cried a lot. We worked as a team. His colleagues at the department posted a moving remembrance of Jefferson County Sheriff Fred Abdullah. They wrote, "Although we miss you dearly, we'll carry on as you've taught us to do in the face of adversity. One of the last working sheriffs, you were always involved and answered calls with your staff. You led by example. You never ordered a deputy to do something you would not do yourself." Our thoughts are with his family, with the people of Jefferson County. His passing is a real loss for my state. For all who knew him, his dedication to his community will not be forgotten. Rest in peace, Fred Abdullah. I yield the floor. Quorum, or do you care? No. Note the absence of a quorum.